You know, we use sentences every single day, but have you ever really stopped to think about how they're actually put together? Well, today we're going to do just that. We're putting on our detective hats to break down the sentence and uncover the hidden architecture that makes it all work.
Think about it. Every story, from a simple little question to a really chilling tale, is built out of sentences. But what are the sentences themselves built from? That's what we're about to find out as we start peeling back the layers of language.
So the very first piece of our puzzle is something called the clause. You can think of it like the core DNA of a sentence. It's pretty much the smallest unit that can express a complete thought.
And Yev, every single sentence you've ever read has at least one of these clauses inside it. To figure out how they work, we can break them down into even smaller parts, called clause elements. And for our investigation today, we're going to stick with one main example. Maria is reading ghost stories.
Okay, let's start with the two non-negotiables. I mean, every single clause, no matter how simple or complicated it is, has to have these two essential parts to even work. The one doing the action and the action itself.
First up, we have the subject. The subject is basically the star of the show. It's the who or the what the clause is all about. So in our sentence, Maria is reading ghost stories, our subject is, you guessed it, Maria. The whole clause is about her.
So what is Maria doing? Well, that brings us to the predicate. The predicate is what tells us what's happening, and here's the key. It always contains a verb. In our example, the action Maria is performing is reading. So there we have it, our subject, Maria, and our predicate is reading.
Okay, so we know who is doing something and what they're doing. But that kind of leads to another question. Maria is reading what exactly? What is on the receiving end of that action?
And that what? Well, that's our next element, the object. The object is the thing or the person that the subject is acting directly on. It's the target of the verb.
All right, your turn to play detective. Based on that definition, take another look at our sentence. In Maria is reading ghost stories, what do you think the object is?
If you said ghost stories, you are absolutely right. And here's a little trick that works every time. To find the object, just ask what or who right after the verb. What is Maria reading? Ghost stories. See? It's a foolproof method.
Let's see this in action again. In Maria is scaring Lingo, who is she scaring? Lingo. Simple enough. Now, what's really interesting here is that some verbs, like scare, absolutely demand an object. You can't just scare into thin air, right? But other verbs, like read, are a bit more flexible. Maria can be reading a book, or she could just be reading. The object is optional. And just when you think you've got it figured out, language throws us a curveball. Some verbs, usually verbs about giving something or doing something for someone, can actually have two objects. Take a look at this sentence. Maria gives Lingo the book.
So how do we untangle this one? Well, Maria is our subject. She's the giver. The thing that's actually being given, the book. We call that the direct object. And the person who gets it, Lingo, that's the indirect object. Giver, receiver, and thing given. It's as simple as that.
Okay, let's switch gears and look at a new situation. The story goes on, and now Lingo gets scared. Wait a minute. Is scared an object here? Is Lingo doing something to the word scared? That doesn't really feel right, does it?
It's not an object because it's a totally different kind of element. This is a predicative. A predicative doesn't receive an action. Instead, its whole job is to describe the subject. It tells us what the subject is, or what it's becoming, or maybe what it's called. In this case, scared is just a description of Lingo's state. You'll almost always find these predicatives hanging out with verbs like is, gets, or is called. They're there to complete the thought. So, for example, the alien isn't acting upon Lingo. Lingo is its name. The dog isn't doing something to a large, furry Afghan hound. That's just what the dog is. It's all about description.
All right, this is where we put it all together. Because these two can look really similar, let's put them side by side to make the difference crystal clear. This is it, the final showdown, object versus predicative.
And here it is, plain and simple. An object is something the subject acts on, something it does something to or with. A predicative, on the other hand, just says something about the subject. That's it. It's the difference between acting and describing.
Let's look at this out in the wild. They heard footsteps.
Okay, did they do something to the footsteps? Yep, they heard them. So footsteps is an object. Now what about the room was dark? Is the room doing something to dark? No, of course not. Dark is a description about the room, and that makes it a predicative. See the difference?
So, from now on, the next time you read anything, a book, an article, even just a text message, I bet you'll see it differently. You've got the tools now to see the architecture hiding just beneath the words. You're not just a reader anymore. You're a sentence detective. The only question left is, what are you going to uncover next?